The term pay to play has so much
I know.
it has such a bad name to it. But to me, I would switch it. Like, okay, let's say that you want to say this is pay to play. Let's say that is what you want to say. I would call the other model pay to hope, because the other one was pay to hope. Like you were still paying. You were still paying these publicists, and you were paying them a lot to hope, to have a possibility.
Sure.
So for me, I would rather have somebody tell me, if I'm going to the supermarket and I want to buy oranges, I want to be able to have the person say, okay, if you give me X amount of dollars, I'll give you 10 oranges, versus saying, give me this amount of oranges and we'll put you in a machine that throws oranges at you and you try to catch it, but you might only catch one, or you might catch 20. It's a very different mindset. For me, it just had to do with what seems fair, and what in my deep core is what it is fair, because everybody is winning versus just one person winning. I still have major artists that come to me and want to impress, and it's because it helps for SEO. It helps to have something to talk to your current fan base, something for your fan base to know you better. An interview with a bigger publication will draw eyes to that, and it might even gain you new fans when it comes to that. And it also helps for DSPs. So when you're pitching to Spotify, when you're pitching to any of this, they ask you, do you have press? Do you have confirmed press? So there is still a value to it. I just don't think that the value, and I would be the first person that tells you, the value is not what it used to be, and the market has to change with that. That is why we work the way that we do. That this is why when that big publication told me $5,000, I said, absolutely not. There is no way I'm going to recommend that to an artist, because for me, it has to make sense.
What's going on? Welcome to The New Music Business. I'm your host, Ari Herstand, author of How to Make It in the New Music Business, the book, 3rd edition, out everywhere now, including the audiobook. Today, my guest is Mikel Corrente. He is a music publicist. He's been in the game for 10 years, and if you read my book or you were on Clubhouse back in the day, and I mentioned this a little bit, just a couple of years ago, he discussed how he was thinking of changing the music PR model because it was broken, and he got a lot of shit for it. Fast forward to today, and he's running a very successful PR company with very satisfied artists. His PR company is Purple Bite PR. It's purplebite.com is the website. You can check out kind of the systems and success stories and just kind of how this new model works there. But today we discuss how PR has evolved over the years, how music press has evolved over the years from, the days of Hype Machine in 2015 back in the day when it really moved the needle and was moving culture and moving the industry, to where it's at today, and the evolution and the point of music PR and press and how to get press and how it's all working. And so we really pull the curtain back, lift the hood up, whatever metaphor you want, of kind of digging inside, looking at the inner workings of music PR and press and media and how it all works. So if you want an update on where we're at as an industry in 2023 in at least the press front and the PR front, and what music PR is and how it all works and how it's working differently these days, because it has changed tremendously over the last 10 years. And where are we at right now? This is definitely an episode you're going to learn a lot from. So strap in, and I know this is going to upset a lot of people. And if any publicists are listening to this right now, feel free to send me an email, and I want to hear you vent. Hell, come on the show. I invite you. And give me the counter argument. Tell me why Mikel is wrong. Tell me why this model is bad for the industry, if that's what you feel. Because that's what a lot of the publicists were yelling at me on the Clubhouse discussion I led a couple years ago, or yelling at Mikel, rather. He had to defend himself against 7 publicists that were screaming that he was upending and being unethical and all of that. Whereas now we are 2 years later, and the industry has kind of shifted in that direction. So we get into everything. We get into the PR model and all of that. Really curious to hear your thoughts. Feel free to leave a comment on YouTube, shoot me an email, find me on Instagram, leave a comment on Instagram, shoot me a DM, all of that stuff. I'd love to hear from you. You can find me on Instagram at Ari Herstand. You can find all of us that make the show happen and some clips from various episodes and tips and all that stuff at Ari's Take on Instagram and TikTok and Twitter. Visit aristake.com. Get on the email list. That is where you're going to get the most up-to-date, relevant info. You're going to get regular emails when we release new podcast episodes, but also everything about the new music business that you want to hear about. Get on the email list, aristake.com. But pause the show right now, and if you could leave us a 5-star review on Apple and Spotify podcasts, that really helps. Subscribe, follow, wherever you're listening to the show. Hit that follow, hit that subscribe button if you'd like us to show up in your feed. Leave us a comment on YouTube, all the good stuff. All right, let's kick into the show. Mikel Corrente, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, brother. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So this is the we've chatted a bunch, off the record, just kind of shooting the shit over the years. But this is kind of the first time that we've chatted on the record, very publicly, since the shit show of Clubhouse back in 2020 when I told this story in the book. I don't know if you've seen the story, but where. Basically, for those of you who didn't have the pleasure of tuning in and hearing Mikel defend himself against 7 publicists that were frothing at the mouth with daggers in their hands, absolutely trying to destroy his character over Clubhouse. But basically, it was a pretty fascinating scene. I hosted a Clubhouse discussion about publicists and PR and music PR and where it's all at and all of that. And Mikel basically discussed, changing the model, and publicists were not cool with it at all, to say the least. And it kind of challenged everything that they've ever stood for and what they ethically thought and all of this, which we're going to get into later on. I don't want to start with that. I just think it was a fantastic, fascinating discussion. And honestly, when I thought about PR, one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you back on, because of how you were able to, or not back on, but to bring you onto the show, how you were able to really stand up for what you believe in and really developed a thriving business since then based on that model. So I want to step back, and I just want to, first off, get to know you a little bit and let the audience get to know you a little bit. Give me a little background on who you are, where you came from, how you got into PR.
Yeah. I'll give you a quick but comprehensive background. So Great. I was born in Venezuela, in Maracay, which is a small city in the outsides of Caracas. And what I did, right, like my parents were entrepreneurs and my grandparents were entrepreneurs. They had their own business. And since I was little, I was sort of encouraged to be a business owner. But what happened was, Venezuela had an intense revolution, change of power, which I'm not going to get into. Right. Communism basically happened in my country.
Sure.
And I saw my parents lose everything they built through the years, because again, like it was just sort of like, if you are not publicly with the government, then we're gonna get you. So that was sort of a wake-up call for me, and it's when I moved to the US because I saw it and I said, like, okay, I do want the life of the entrepreneur. I like what I saw growing up. It was stressful, but it had freedoms, it has things. But then seeing my parents lose it all, I'm like, I cannot do this here. Like, I need to do this in a place that feels a little bit more stable. So that's when I moved to the US. In the beginning, I was doing audio engineering. So I did audio engineering for Warner Channel in South America. So I was editing commercials for basically all South American territory.
Gotcha.
And then when I moved here, I started working as assistant manager, and I had that like management path, which I realized it wasn't my core, because my passion since I was a kid were psychology, music, and philosophy. So a way for me to connect those 3 things came in PR. Like, it really flew really natural when I started doing it about 10 years ago. He just really sort of flew, but it wasn't like, you hear stories of people saying like, oh, I knew since I was a kid that this is what I wanted to do. And like, no, I knew I wanted to do something that had to do with psychology and music. I didn't know exactly what it was. So I tried many fields of the music industry, and still I found the one that really flew with my personality and that really connected with who I am.
Yeah, that's great. And so, okay, 10 years ago, I mean, why don't you paint the picture of kind of, we're talking 2013, I'm assuming is about that time period. What was music PR then?
Oh, so different. I mean,
yeah, I know.
Massively different, right? Like back then you would have, I remember when I started the company in like 2015. So let's say since the moment, not when I started working for other people doing PR, but like myself independently. So when I started the company, I remember having like campaigns that you would get like Hype Machine, which is not really a thing anymore, and I would get
Hype
millions
Machine,
and millions
hypem.com.
of plays.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And to just clarify, just for people that aren't familiar with Hype Machine or hypem.com, back then in 2015, how that worked was if you got a bunch of blog articles to write about a single, all within the same like week or time period or day or something like that, usually on like the day of the release day, you could theoretically trend on Hype Machine homepage, like the hypem.com homepage. And if you were trending, if you were like ranked, I guess because they ranked them, if you were in like the home first page, the top 20 or whatever, that would generate millions of streams, and you'd probably be getting hit up by everyone in the industry, right?
Exactly, and this was not the big publications. A lot of the big publications were not part of Hype Machine. These were like the little blogs, the blogs that. Yeah, I mean, Pitchfork was on it, Fader was on it. Some big ones were on it, but this was like people that just had a computer in their house writing about music, and that's how like it would blow up. Or you would have a nylon article, I remember, and get like offers by labels, like an indie artist that would get like nylon article immediately, like the next day. I remember when I started, I got my first nylon. And I remember the artist the next day was like, oh, holy shit. I just got an email from a label saying that they want to sign us. Like, this is pretty wild.
These are the tastemakers in 10 years ago, in the 2015 or so, the bloggers. And right, Hype Machine was kind of a numbers game back then. It was kind of like you didn't need the nylon article or the Pitchfork article or something like that. But if you had enough of those little bedroom bloggers that happened to be, because Hype Machine, just to clarify, it's not a blog necessarily, it's an blog aggregator. It was like it had hundreds of blogs that were in the system. And so if any one of those blogs that were theoretically all vetted by the Hype Machine team as like, a blog within the system, aggregated in the system, if you had gotten write-ups in any of those Hype Machine blogs, even if they had 3 readers, it didn't matter. It would automatically populate and aggregate Hype Machine's charts. And then the more that wrote about you, then you rose up in those charts. And so, similarly, okay, you have the story about an artist that you got a nylon feature on, got, label offers the next day. Shit, I would see artists that would trend in the top 10 on Hype Machine just because they had like 7 bedroom bloggers write about them. Not only were they getting hundreds of thousands of streams overnight, but managers would be contacting them, labels would be contacting them. I mean, this is like what moved the needle back in 2015.
Absolutely. And that continued to be so, I want to say, until 2018, 2019. Like that was still like it did went down a little bit, but it was still there. Because that is, I remember, then you jump towards Spotify and playlisting. And I remember every time I would go to New York, going to the Spotify offices and having a blast, because they had like ping pong tables. They had this amazing room where like you would like play your artist and they would like check out your artist. And you would get playlisted, or you would get the artist. Sometimes they would have the artist come and perform in the offices. they would have this sort of like very DIY feeling to them.
Yep.
But then, Spotify grew massively in 2018, I want to say. And then everything started to change. But, like the way I see it is change is inevitable, right? Like,
yeah,
you have to go with the change. I mean, I like quotes. So I would use like only like 3 quotes, maybe 4. But one of the quotes, I'm not a Buddhism, but I'm not a Buddhist.
sure.
But there are certain things that I like about it. And one of the quotes that Buddhism use, it's like change is never painful. Only resistance to change is painful. So when you see these things, these things changing, you realize you're like, oh, change is definitely coming. Mm-hmm. I can resist it, or I could see where we're going.
Yes. So you saw back 2018 or so, 2019, as culture was shifting and the industry, tastemakers were shifting from blogs, from publications, which was kind of moving the needle, and we should say the streaming needle on how people were kind of discovering music, to playlists. And, this is the natural evolution. Is like people weren't really discovering music anymore from blogs. People weren't really going to Hype Machine and checking out what's trending, what are the songs that are like trending on blogs right now, or even going to their favorite blogs en masse like they were. These blogs still exist. They didn't all die, but there was this shift, like the reason that the conversation has moved so far from what's trending on Hype Machine and, oh my gosh, who's getting these, articles written up about them, to we got on, New Music Friday and all of these, Spotify official editorial playlists. And that's where the conversation was for a while. And then, it naturally evolved from there now too, where it's just like, what's the trending, song on TikTok? What is the viral TikTok song? Like everything evolves and changes of like where people are discovering music and discovering the songs and discovering artists. And so, okay, so you saw this shift, this change. I guess as a publicist, which, just to clarify for people that don't really know, and actually let's just pause for a second. For people that don't know what PR is, can you just break it down? What is PR specifically for music, like music PR? What is PR and what does a publicist do?
Yeah, so the easiest answer would be public relationships, right? Like that is literally the definition of the job. PR, public relationships. It's a connection in between artists and media could mean many things, right? And like media could mean TV shows, media could mean red carpet, media could mean playlisting, it could mean TikTok, like whatever, because it's so vast that you have publicists doing different things. So there is not one publicist that would cover, and maybe there is, but I don't know how good can they cover all of these avenues properly.
Okay,
so your connection.
Yeah.
That's how I would say. Your connection with media, artist connection with media. That's a publicist.
And so then what is a publicist's goal? What does a publicist do on behalf of the artists?
Yeah, the goal is to secure media for the artist, secure some sort of hype for the artist. So that is a job well done. Is you telling an artist, this is what I'm going to get you. Like if it's, somebody that works with TikTok, is say, I'm going to get you 10 influencers to cover it, and they hit their marks, that is success. If it's, I'm going to get you into like a massive publication, that is success. So depending on the conversation that you have with the artist, but I would always ask for deliverables, right? Like, well, we'll get to that later, but that is sort of like one of my things with the model of like no deliverables.
Yeah. And that's helpful just to kind of lay the groundwork of what music PR is. And I've worked with a bunch of publicists over the years. From my experience, traditional publicists, music publicists, charge a monthly fee, anywhere I've seen from $1,000 to $5,000 a month. Many times they have like a 4 to 6 month minimum campaign. So, it's a very expensive thing. And yeah, in my experience, publicists have worked to get press primarily, media, like you said, media outlets, but like blogs and, magazines, that kind of stuff. Sometimes print, mostly it's digital these days. Podcasts is a big one. When I hired a publicist a couple of years ago for my albums, they secured a ton of podcasts, like little interview things that, I don't know how many people actually listen to these podcasts. Don't think many, but, it's kind of that, like you said, public relations, media, getting the media. So you engage, you basically are hiring a publicist for a service. And most publicists, traditional publicists, have worked on, they get paid no matter what. You're not paying them for results. You're paying them for their time and for they'll say their connections and their work and, all of that. So whether they get you, on the cover of Rolling Stone and on Jimmy Fallon on late night, or they get you literally nothing, they get paid the same. And that's been the business of PR for as long as I've known about it, to be honest, at least the last 20 years or so. So is that how you kind of worked for the first few years or first many years, most of the years of your business as well?
Yeah, it's absolutely how I worked. But my motto from the very beginning, right? So every company has like mission statements.
Sure.
My motto from the very, very beginning was, I want to be the PR company that is good towards the indie artist. Because that is something that I realized, because again, me being growing up with entrepreneur parents, one thing that I always got, it's like, see what is the niche that it's missing. Like, see what are people craving? Like, what is it that are actually missing from this system? So one thing that I realized right in the beginning, again, I cannot do that anymore. But in the beginning, when I started doing PR, my going rate was $300 a month. That was in the beginning, when people were charging, very way higher, because I said, do I really need offices? No. Why? Do I need a research team? Yes, I do need a research team, and I want to pay them well. But I have, to me, I consider it an advantage of being multicultural. And then I have my team, and I have my team in Venezuela, my research team, fantastic people that I've worked with for. Some of them have been with me for 6-7 years, and they are extremely happy. And I'm very happy because it's helping my country, and it's also the artists are happy because I could keep my overhead lower than if I were to have my research team here.
I mean, yeah, I guess the cost of living in Venezuela is a lot lower than the cost of living in LA. And so what is needed to live on in Venezuela is a lot lower than in the States, let alone LA. So you're able to support them at a living wage that probably makes sense and is competitive with the other jobs of Venezuela. But in the States, it's a lot less than what anyone would be going for here. So that enables you to keep your rates low. It's like how people hire virtual assistants in countries where you can charge a lot less, you can pay a lot less, and people come, hire virtual assistants in India or Indonesia or, somewhere where you can pay them way below what an executive assistant or, assistant would cost in the States, because it's just the cost of living. So that makes sense. Okay, cool. So you're charging $300 an hour.
To me, it also had a holistic view to it, right? Because from a business thing, it makes a lot of sense. But for me, in a holistic way, because I could be paying the people in Venezuela half of what I'm paying them, and there would be a competitive rate. But for me, my holistic thing is I want to create actually good jobs for the people back home, because all of these
Sure.
people are from Maracay. They're from my city. Like they
Yeah.
are not like in
You
other
know that.
places. So there is a holistic approach for me in like these are people that are my brothers and sisters. Like these are
Yeah.
people that are like my neighbors.
Yeah.
So there is that. Because again, I could be paid half, but I'm not doing that because I'm like, what's the point?
Sure.
I want them to grow, and that's what they still with me 6 years later.
That's great. Okay, so you were keeping your rates low. I'm assuming you didn't stay at $300 a month throughout this time period. Tell me this evolution, and when you decided and realized that your rates were far below market rate for the industry.
Yeah, I mean, where I was buying my food at the cheapest supermarkets, and
Right.
I was like barely.
You weren't making a living.
You know?
Yeah.
Exactly. So I said like, okay, but like it helped for me to create a name as that.
Sure.
And then I was able to like little by little grow the company and bring more people. Cause again, in the beginning, I have one person right now, like brought more people, try different things. I create capital for us to try to also, be like, we did brand partnerships at some point and just having that like, what can we do that is different and that offers a service towards the artists that we're working with?
Yeah.
So yeah, like it continued to increase. And I think the highest we were ever a month, this was when we were doing it monthly, was 1,200 a month, which is still like very low compared to other PR companies. Oops.
Oh, absolutely. I mean that. I just finished a campaign a couple months ago for an artist that I manage, and that campaign was $2,000 a month with a very reputable music PR firm, and we were debating between that firm and another one that was charging $4,500 a month. There wasn't much debate. We couldn't afford $4,500 a month. They're like, it's going to be $4,500 a month for 4 months. We're like, yeah, unless you are guaranteeing the cover of Rolling Stone and like 3 late night spots, this is not, you can't do this. We're independent. And I thought it was pretty hilarious that was their rate for independence. But I guess if that's their rate, they're clearly getting it. I think, most of their clients, however, were of that upper echelon, I don't know necessarily all superstars, but at least the ones that could afford that wouldn't bat an eye at those rates. So, yeah, I mean, $1,200 a month is still low from what I've seen. But that's so. When did you shift? Because I know the model and what I want to cover today, and honestly, the reason that I asked you to be on this show is because you're doing something different in the music PR space that I haven't really seen anyone else do yet. And this is what you got so much pushback from on the Clubhouse discussion when we had it. So tell me like what the new model is and when you and how you decided to land on it and why.
Yeah, so it happened because I listened to the artists, right? Like from the beginning of the company, it was always about the indie artists. So what happened when, for me, which I'm used to a high level of like success rate when it comes to like the artists being like, oh, I'm really glad, like this was really worth it, to suddenly like 2019, 2020, having the artists not be that satisfied with the model, being like you feel the artist thinking that they could have spent their budget better. And I listened. I just listened to them. It's as simple as that.
Why were they not satisfied? What was the feedback you were receiving?
The feedback was we are only getting smaller blogs that don't really translate that much.
Okay.
Like we were still getting some bigger blogs, but they were like very few, because what happened was a lot of the bloggers and a lot of the publications and magazines with the rise of TikTok and Instagram, and actually Instagram, TikTok wasn't that big that time, but Instagram, they started to cut budgets because less and less advertisements, companies were spending money in this publication. So what happened? The first thing that went was the new music. So and I'm somebody that love working with the indie artists. So for me, when I hear Nylon or Fader being like, yes, we're still gonna cover new music, but we're cutting that staff to one person. We're cutting the staff to, so it became this wildly competitive area for like very few spots available. So even if the song was amazing, it was really hard to place it in these publications.
Because they're most likely going to be placing artists that are famous already, so that will drive more traffic to the publication. Because if some unheard of Americana indie rock artist is coming out with a song, and it's between them and Boy Genius, they're going to cover Boy Genius and they're going to write about that, and they only have so many hours in the day. And if it's just the one person, whereas before it might have been 10 people or whatever, of course, they're going to cover that song and that record over the no name on, indie artist that would really love that write up and that break and whatever. But so you're seeing that just like they just weren't covering emerging artists anymore.
Exactly. They stopped, and I started talking, and this was, and I, again, like I want to be an open book and all of this. And this was when I talked to, and this was one of the big things of the clubhouse that we had, which was my involvement with Lady Gun. But very few people know the story of the Lady Gun thing. So for me, Lady Gun, for those not familiar, it's an amazing fashion and music publication. Mm-hmm. And what happened was 2019, I met with Coco, the founder, amazing, very sweet. And she told me, I think Lady Gun's going to go under. Like this was right after the 4 to 5. And I said, I don't want Lady Gun to go under. What can I do? And we discussed, and I became a business developer of Lady Gun. So for me, I was putting thousands of dollars to be sure that the writers were paid, to be sure that the publication ran, to find ways from the inside of the publication, why is this not working? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that was my goal. I was part of Lady Gun maybe for like 10 months after I left, but I still kept a great relationship with them. But I learned so much because I understood that the problem was not only on the artist side, but on the journalist side, because these journalists are writing for free, most of them. Like most of them are writing just to have their name on it. Because when the advertising money got cut,
right,
like the publication owners were like, okay, well, we can no longer pay these rates. We can no longer pay you to be like they would have contributors all the time. So that was another piece of the puzzle that sort of came together for me. And it was thanks to my time with Lady Gun and understanding. But what people think, like when people talk to me about like the Lady Gun situation, they're like, well, but you have such an into a publication that is so unethical. And like, you don't understand the amount of money I'm spending to understand and to help this publication not close. And actually, we are covering your artists for free, and I'm paying the writer to cover your artists, other PR companies.
So just to explain where the issue lied then, and this is we're talking like 2020 or something, 2019, I guess, is you were essentially on the leadership side of Lady Gun, investing in Lady Gun, paying, writers and all of that, but you were still running your PR business. So you're kind of playing both sides, where you were getting your artists that were hiring you as a publicist, you were getting your artists written up in Lady Gun. And that was that there were some red flags being waved around that time, because they're like, wait a minute, this is unethical. Like, you run Lady Gun and you're a publicist, your artists are paying you for your PR services and you're getting them in Lady Gun, but you run Lady Gun. So, okay, I can see where the ethical dilemma theoretically lies there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but one thing is that, I pitch the artists, and obviously it gave me an advantage, but I always let the editors do their jobs. Like, they would tell me,
okay,
oh, we don't like this artist. Like, this artist we're not covering. Like, I would always leave it to the editor, because to me that part was important. But again, like, was there potentially some bias at the editor because they liked me because I was part of they would like chose some artists? Absolutely, but that is out of my hands at that point. And like, I see it as a way, like, I don't think, and again, like, Coco would have to be here to talk, but I don't think that period, Lady Gun's doing well right now, but I don't think that during that period, it would have survived that part of the pandemic without me investing in it.
Sure. So I guess I still want to understand a little bit what shifted in the business model of publications that you were seeing in what you were hearing, but also seeing just from, looking under the hood at Lady Gun. Is it because so much traffic had fallen off from the websites that, whereas maybe before they were making $3,000 a month in advertising revenue, that, traffic fell off by half, so then they were making $1,500 a month in advertising revenue? Is that, just so I can understand, those numbers obviously are made up. I have no idea, no concept, and no ballpark of what a blog like that makes a month in advertising revenue, but like, is it because the traffic fell off and then the ads went down, or is it because just like explain like what happened?
It was a combination. That yes, the traffic fell off, but it didn't fell off that drastically compared to like 2019 or 2018. It did fell off, but not crazy. But what happened is the golden egg situation, right? Like, if you're a label, you're always chasing the golden egg. So the golden egg at that moment was Instagram and starting to be TikTok. So it was influencers. So people were, okay, if I have $5,000 to spend, am I gonna spend half of that in media? And like, by media I mean like blogs and publications, or am I gonna spend 10% of my money on publications and spend the rest on
so I gotcha. So it wasn't just that traffic fell off and the ads, the inventory and just like they weren't getting as many impressions. You're saying like labels would spend a lot of money directly with these blogs, and it wasn't just like the blogs were running Google ads or something like that. You're saying like Columbia Records would go to Lady Gun and be like, hey, here's $20,000. We want the homepage. We want every banner ad. We want a complete site takeover for Adele's new record or whatever. And that was happening. And then as you call it the golden egg moved from publications, and that's not really, it wasn't as influential there. They would take that 20 grand instead of giving it to Lady Gun to do a site takeover or whatever publication. They would put that into influencer marketing to influencers on Instagram or TikTok, and maybe like ads or something like that, right?
Exactly. Like, they would still put some in the publication market, but they would put way less. Because it's it's the same thing with TikTok right now. Like, you see so many artists that the labels are like, you have to go viral on TikTok, you have to go viral on TikTok, and then there is many friends of mine that they went viral because they were funny, and then the labels are like, well, you know what, maybe lean into the funny, maybe this is your new career now. So it's all about chasing what seems to be that golden egg instead of focusing in the overall picture.
Yeah. Okay, so you saw both sides of this. You saw under the hood at Lady Gun. And now we're getting into 2020-ish. What did you evolve your business model to be, and why?
Yeah, so I went through a deep thinking moment, which is something that I like to do. which is just really think of all these moving parts that are going around, right? You know how they say, this is a little sidetrack, but you know how they say that like your best ideas come in the shower. And they say that because actually it didn't come in the shower, but the logic behind it is you are not distracted in the shower. You're doing something routinary. You're doing something without the technology in your hand that you're like always distracted.
Sure.
So for me, that deep work, it just has to do with not distracting myself and just thinking of all these moving parts.
Yep.
So I just started to, and that was when we had the clubhouse, right? Well, we had it in 2021, I think. But I started to put this idea together of like, okay, you know what? Maybe there is a way here. Maybe there is a way for the artists to have what they want, which is they want coverage, but they want to be sure that they're getting covered where they want to, like in places that they like. And for the publications, there is a way for them to keep their standards, keep their like high curation without having to work for free.
Okay.
Because that was a problem. You cannot have a situation when one person is winning and two are losing, which is what was happening with PR. Like the publicists were winning, and then the publications were losing, and the artists were losing. Like that just cannot happen because it's not sustainable. It's just not long term. It's just not gonna work. So I found, like, I started to think about what are ways that it could work for everybody. And that's when I got all of that resistant, because basically I was proposing that the writers and the publications transparently would get monetized and would get compensated for their work if they like the submission. Like that was the most important part. If they keep their curation and if they like their submission.
So what you're proposing and suggesting is a pay to play, is essentially that you will pay the writer or the publication if they write about your artist, and you won't pay them if they don't. But what you're saying is they can decide if they want to write about it or not. They have the editorial discretion. So you've changed this model from the publication paying their writers because they just weren't paying their writers and they had stopped paying the writers. So they could afford to maybe cover emerging artists again because they had stopped by and large, at least some of these big ones. You proposed this new model to them saying, why don't we do this? I will pay you, I'll pay your writers, or I'll pay you if you cover this. And so, and what you found was artists preferred that because they were frustrated, and you felt frankly that it was unethical to be taking money from artists and not delivering on the results that you were promising or that they were expecting, I should say.
Yeah, and like I obviously don't like the term. The term "pay to play" has so much.
I know.
Bad. It has such a bad name to it. But to me, I would switch it. Like, okay, let's say that you want to say this is pay to play. Let's say that is what you want to say. I would call the other model "pay to hope," because the other one was "pay to hope." Like you were still paying. You were still paying these publicists, and you were paying them a lot to hope, to have a possibility.
Sure.
So for me, I would rather have somebody tell me, if I'm going to the supermarket and I want to buy oranges, I want to be able to have the person say, okay, if you give me X amount of dollars, I'll give you 10 oranges, versus saying, give me this amount of oranges and we'll put you in a machine that throws oranges at you and you try to catch it. But you might only catch one, or you might catch 20. It's a very different. It's a very different mindset. For me, it just had to do with what seems fair and what in my deep core is what it is fair, because everybody is winning versus just one person winning.
Sure. Now, the pushback that you received then, and that I've heard from publicists and some journalists, frankly, is ethically what I should say. The publication loses authority or trust from their readership if they know that that they are being paid by the subject that they are writing about. Some might even call that this is advertorial, or if it's not disclosed that they're being paid, that there could be some legal issues with the FCC or something like that. I don't know the ins and outs of the laws, but I'm curious, when you're having these discussions with publications about this, what are these discussions, I guess? Because, okay, so you move into this model. Is every publication like, yeah, let's do it. Sweet, you're going to pay me and I'll write about your artist. Was there any pushback around this from the publications themselves?
Oh, there was pushback for sure. There were publications that told me, no, this is not something we want to do. There's publications that said no and then say yes, because they realized that they were making end meet, right? And there are publications that wanted a lot of money. I'm not gonna say the name of the publication, but there was a publication that went out of business, big publication, and they wanted $5,000 per placement
per article.
And I just saw them and I said, there is absolutely no way I am gonna recommend any of my artists to spend this much money in a publication, because again, my thing is win-win-win. It's not about like, oh yeah, let's sell this thing to the artist and then I'll make a cut and then that's it. Because what's the point of that? The artist is going to be pissed.
Yeah. So let's zoom out a little bit more. Let's fast forward to current day right now. We're June 2023. What is the point of music press right now?
Yeah, that's a good question. And, obviously, I think that when people grab about what it used to be, when they look at it that way, it's very easy. It's not the same thing. Right. But to me, it is still very important. I still have major artists that come to me and want in press. And it's because it helps for SEO. It helps to have something to talk to your current fan base, something for your fan base to know you better. An interview with a bigger publication will draw eyes to that, and it might even gain you new fans when it comes to that. And it also helps for DSPs. So when you're pitching to Spotify, when you're pitching to any of this, they ask you, do you have press? Do you have confirmed press? So there is still a value to it. I just don't think that the value, and I would be the first person that tells you the value is not what it used to be, and the market has to change with that. That is why we work the way that we do. That this is why when that big publication told me $5,000, I said, absolutely not. There is no way I'm going to recommend that to an artist. Because for me, it has to make sense with the market. It has to make sense with the market. It's basic economics.
Yep. Okay, right. Because it is true that it's not what it was in 2015. An article in a big publication or getting trending on Hype Machine, which still exists, doesn't move the needle. It's not going to generate hundreds of thousands of streams overnight like it used to. You're not really going to be getting contacted by people in the industry if you're getting big write-ups in publications like you used to. So it is hard for a lot of artists to kind of think about well, what is the point? Why would I care to get press? But then on the other hand, it's all right, right behind me, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see these two things here. One of these is a framed publication. It's American Songwriter magazine that did a really nice write-up of me 2 years ago for my album. And then right next door is Music Connection magazine. That was actually in print, that did a really nice songwriter profile on me. And I got these things, framed and on, mounted on wood and shit. And it's like, that felt really good. American Songwriter magazine called me a world-class songwriter. Literally, that is like the quote that I could put on my tombstone. Like, American Songwriter magazine, Ari Harrison is a world-class songwriter. It was like, that felt fucking great. And, and they wrote a really nice review of my album. Now, did it like, quote unquote, move the needle? I don't, not in like a concrete way of like, I got millions of streams from it, or that like labels were pounding down my door, anything like that. No, that didn't happen at all from it. Was there something concretely that I could take away from it? No. But did it feel really good and help my confidence? Absolutely. Like, did I need that to feel like I was on the right track and doing something right, and that my album wasn't for naught, and that like, because I wasn't getting millions of streams and hundreds of thousands of monthly listeners, that I wasn't a failure? Yeah, that actually felt really good and was like really important for me emotionally, and with like my my own confidence level and all of that stuff. So like, I think there is something to be said about that, and something that we can point to with publications that really good writing and legitimate writers and legit publications, whatever you define as legit, saying something nice about your music, because that is like few and far between for artists to kind of like hear that. And even though like, hearing positive thing, like I got a bunch of positive DMs and positive emails and all of that kind of stuff, and that's nice. But like, I think we put a lot more weight and value when it is published, and especially when there's a name around it. And like, I think, we're so caught up in the industry, and everyone in the industry kind of exists on this alternate plane from the general population and the general public. Posting about that I got written up in American Songwriter magazine, and this was the quote and whatever, like, the normies, we're talking the friends, the family, the fans outside of LA and Nashville and New York, were like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Like, what? Like, they think it's fucking huge and it's famous. Like, they don't know what has happened in the industry, So it's like, I think there's still something to be said that like for fans and people that are not in the industry, they still put a lot of weight and value in press. So I agree. There is still a place for press. Now, it is, like you said, market value. What is that market value? I don't know. I couldn't justify spending $4,500 a month for 4 months to hope, like you put it, that we'll get something good. But like, so what are like, I guess, what is your business model now? We still haven't really gotten to that. So like, you're not charging monthly. Are you? So I come to you and I'm like, all right, Purple Bite, I want Billboard. Here's $1,000. Get me in Billboard. Like, is that how it works, or how is this working?
Well, no, it doesn't really work like that, right? So like, because Billboard, it's not one of the publications that wants to get paid whatsoever. Okay. I know the editor. I work with Billboard, so I also pitch to other publications that do not are not in this system of like getting paid. Some of them are, some of them aren't. It's like 50-50 at this point. Oh, okay. So I'm still doing some of the pitching, like traditional pitching.
Yeah.
But there are people that... Wait, so the model, sorry, I tried for a second. So the model, what you're talking is people will come to me and said, I have a list of, I would ask them, what are your goals? I would listen to the song. I would see what the artist story is. And I would say, okay, I do think that your goals are realistic. Or I would say, no. I would say your goals are not realistic. And we have a zero risk model, which is guarantee your money back. So for me, being able to have no BS whatsoever, because I think that is one of the problems that I had with the PR system, which was the hoping, right? There is so much BS. There is, oh, you know what? We did pitch to Rolling Stone. We did pitch to Billboard. Maybe we'll hear back. Like that sort of dream that you're gonna get crushed when you realize nothing happened. But you will pay another month because you're waiting to hear. You would pay another month because you're waiting for that maybe. So for me, like I just had an artist today reach out with a song, which the song is fantastic. It's a new artist, and they said, okay, I'm only interested in Pitchfork on Rolling Stone. And I said, then I won't take the project.
Yeah.
Because at this point, it's not realistic. And we have a 96% success rate. So we have only had to return money 4% of the times. And it's because
and you actually return.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely.
I've never heard of a publicist ever say that they will return money, or I've never heard of a publicist ever return money to clients because they couldn't deliver on results. So that is commendable.
Thank you so much. Yeah, but because again, to me, it's a long-term picture. It's what's fair. Like I am a fighter for that. Like, what is fair? What is fair in this industry? Well, it is not fair for me to take that. Sorry, tell me.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And I mean, the industry is evolving because for this artist that I manage, we ran for their album release campaign, we ran, a traditional PR campaign and hired a traditional publicist at $2,000 a month. And they came back to us and were like, good news. Wonderland loves the song and wants to write about it. And we're like, hell yeah, Wonderland's huge. This is amazing. They're fantastic. I've been following them for years, following them on Instagram. It's like, man, this is so cool. Hell yeah, great, thank you. And they're like, yeah, they're asking for $500. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, what am I paying you for? I'm paying you $2,000 a month, and now I have to pay an additional $500 for Wonderland to write about my song, even though they already said they liked it. Like, shouldn't you cover that cost? Is like what I was thinking. I was just like, if that's what they want, like, yeah, I want Wonderland, but like, and if this is the new model, fine. But like, what am I paying you for then? Then that's what I was like. I just couldn't understand. I'm like, the gall for them to come back to me and say like, it's going to be, after I'm paying you $2,000 a month, it's going to be an additional $500 just for this one publication. I'm like, yo, you should cover that.
Yeah.
Like, just get,
you're
don't
absolutely
even tell
right.
me. Yeah. So
you're absolutely right. And that's what I feel. But I think what happened is resistance to change, right? Sort of what I told you. Yeah. There is such a resistance to change, on like holding on to that. But one thing that I would say, which I consider a big success story, is I have a lot of my clients right now. I won't say names, but a lot of my clients are PR companies that are sub-hiring us.
Whoa. So PR companies that cannot get their clients press the traditional way by sending out press releases, sending out media blasts, sending out, the copy and paste thing that they do, they will contract you to secure guaranteed placements so they look better to their clients?
Yeah, but in the beginning, I was a little conflicted, but right now I see it and I'm like, you know what, these people are at least doing this with their budgets, with their PR budgets. Like, this is not, like, I don't see it as a problem. I see it towards change, towards the direction that it seems fair. Because if you recall that Clubhouse, I've been always very open about this, and I have encouraged other publicists to do the same. I've been the kind of person that is like, look, the industry needs change. Yeah. Right. Like when you think about Albert Einstein quote about the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results.
Right.
This is what I think the industry is trapped. They are trapped to do this like massive press releases and continue to do that. Don't deliver. But at least I do see some people that are saying like, you know what? I get it. I get that like the writers need to eat. I get that the editors need to eat. I get that the artist wants a guarantee, And again, like whether I don't know if this is accurate, but to my knowledge, the accurate is we would be the least expensive PR campaign with the most results compared to the other companies I know.
Yeah.
That is what my experience has been.
Well, and I mean, it depends on what you define as success, because like some of these PR companies that I've engaged in the past, they've gotten me a lot of quantity. They got me a lot of bullshit tiny little blogs that I probably could have gotten myself from Submit Hub. They got me a lot of tiny little podcast interviews that no one listens to. But they send me a press wrap up, a campaign report as a spreadsheet with 45 lines of data that is like, look at all we got you. Super successful campaign. I'm like, yeah, but I haven't heard of any of these publications. I'm embarrassed to post any of these on my Instagram because I'm like, nobody's heard of these things and their site looks like shit. Some of these sites haven't been updated in looks like 25 years. Like, that doesn't look like success to me. But then again, that might be success clearly to those publicists or to some artists. Maybe it's just like, what? We got to increase our SEO. And we need as many publications to link our website as possible. We want our website to start ranking in Google. How you do that is you get a bunch of other websites to link to you. It's like, okay, if that's your goal, then that's success, So I guess it does depend on what you define as success.
Absolutely. And again, for me, it's about transparency. And that's the only thing that I'm calling for. Like, I'm not calling about like, if you don't want to change your business, that is absolutely fine. But I think there should be a transparency to it, right? Like if somebody comes to you and they said, I want Rolling Stone, I would hope that you have I'm blanking on this word, but the like actual strength of character to tell the artist it is not doable, instead of like, yes, we will pitch to them.
Well, and that was actually a test that I had when I was interviewing publicists for this artist's campaign most recently. I put in the email, here are our target outlets that we're looking for. And I listed, like 20 different target outlets. I included late night TV shows, and I put that as a line item and everything like there. And my test was, if you say these all seem very realistic, you wouldn't get the job. I excluded you because I'm like, you failed the test. Because I knew, I know, and I can emotionally detach myself from these kinds of conversations because I'm representing the artist. I'm not the artist. When I'm the artist, I'm like, oh my God, you think I could get late night TV? Well, shucks. Like, man, you're so right. I do deserve to be on late night TV, but I know how that all works. I know that, like, I know the bookers for late night shows. Like, I know them personally. I've had personal conversations with the music bookers for late night shows. I know what they're looking for. Talent has very little to do with it, unfortunately. That is the reality of the industry. It's just like, what are your numbers? What is your fan base? Like, if you're not getting hundreds of thousands of monthly listeners or millions, and you're not like moving culture right now, you're not going to get that late night slot. So that's just a reality. It has nothing to do with your talent. It's not like, are you good or are you bad? Unfortunately, that has very little to do with it. So any publicist that was like, all right, this looks like a very realistic, reasonable list. I'm like, really? Even late night? They're like, I have connections at late night. I talk to them all the time. I'm like, cool, you're not getting this job. Thanks for your time. Peace. Bye. Because I know this, but like most artists don't. And a lot of publicists can like sell themselves and they want to get the job and they're trying to stay employed and they don't know any other way to do it. So they'll say, oh, I know the talent, but I know the music bookers at all these, at Kimmel and Fallon and, all of it. I know them. I'm like, cool. I know them too. What does that mean? Do you you realistically cannot get my artist booked? So don't pretend like you can. And like, oh, you're going to get us Pitchfork. You're going to get us Rolling Stone. Okay. What are the other artists that you've gotten the success? So speaking of which, I want to I'm on your site right now and I'm looking at all right. You have a list, in the packages section is just like publications we have worked with and will pitch to, but you said like not, so just so I can clarify and understand, you have Billboard here, you have Consequence of Sound, you have Ear Milk and Wonderland and Rolling Stone and Fader, and Pitchfork and Paste, Lady Gone, LA Weekly, LA Times, a lot of big ones. But what you're saying is these are not not all these publications are charging for placement necessarily. These are just ones that you have relationships with. So, your packages here, I'm looking at is just like, all right, for $500, it's one guaranteed placement in one of these below. Or $1,000 is two guaranteed placements, but you'll also like send a wrap up call or email. What is that? How can you guarantee that? Especially if someone comes to you and is like, we want these, one of these 5 publications, and they're not like part of your system. How do you guarantee that?
Yeah, I mean, again, it depends on communication and having no BS, right? If somebody comes to me, like I told you earlier, somebody came and said, like, I want to Pitchfork and Rolling Stone. And I said, no. I said, like, I cannot do that. I offer alternatives, and like, this seems more realistic to where you are. But if that's not something that you want, I completely understand. And also, in those packages, it's not just that. Like, we do yeah. Indie pitching. So
what does that mean?
Do indie pitching as well.
What does
it means that we do have some of those smaller publications come through. So it's not just one review that you're gonna get, but it's usually one minimum of those like bigger ones. So let's say because I changed the system from being massive pitching and like blasting to be all personalized emailing, right?
Yeah.
So if somebody comes to me and they want the first package, I might send 3 to 5 emails. Yeah. And usually it's pretty close to what I say. Like if I said 1 minimum, like it's usually 1. But there are cases that would be 2 or 3 that would cover it. And I'm not gonna block that, right? Like I'm not gonna say like, oh no, like if this publications want to cover it, I'm not gonna deny that.
Oh, so you might pay $500 and get 3 placements instead of the 1 or whatever.
But again, it is rare. It happens. I have like a campaign, like I have a few campaigns like that a month, but they are not the norm. The norms are the numbers that I have there.
Well, so what's the feedback? I mean, I could see this moving in a direction, getting to the point where you were a few years ago, where you're going to start to get negative feedback from the artists. Whereas, like, if I pay $2,000 and it says 4 guaranteed placements listed below, and I'm looking at these publications, and I only got, I don't know, a book of Bust, Clash, Shown, and The Face, 4 publications that I don't really know of, I'd be disappointed. I'm like, oh, because I also see on this list, the ones that I said before that I'm like, that's what I want. So like, how do you make sure that when artists come in, they're not going to be disappointed like that?
Talking in the very beginning. It's as simple as that. It's just telling them this is what we could do. And then telling us what they want. I asked, what are your top 15 or top 20? That is what I asked. And they would give me that. And I would try to get that. And again, or I would recommend some others. I would say, okay, I like this. How about if we add this other 5? Like they just happened to me yesterday. They sent me 10. Said, okay, I think I think it's not that like crazy. But how about if we add this other 5 to the 10, right? And they said, actually, we like those 5 too.
Yeah.
Done. And like, so it's all about, and again, like I'm telling you something, in all the years that I've been doing this, I haven't had the level of like satisfaction in the company that we have right now. Because to be honest, even if we cannot place it, we return the money fully, entirely. Like that is something that the artists are like grateful. Sometimes, or if we deliver 50%, we return 50%. It's as simple as that.
Yep.
But because I try to be no BS, but not try to, because I am no BS, but it's impossible for me to know 100% if these publications would pick it or not. So that's what I said. Try to. It's 95% success rate. Sorry, 96 success rate.
Yeah, well, that's great to hear. Mikel, this has been so illuminating, and I really appreciate you laying all this out and being so transparent and not being afraid for what, the wrath of the potential publicists or other, more traditional, archaic people in this side of the industry might feel, that you're open to change. And it's nice to hear that artists are satisfied. I have one final question that I ask everybody who comes on the show. What does it mean to you to make it in the new music business?
Yeah, I love that question. And for me, it's just having good balance and peace of mind. That is making it for me. Like, peace of mind is everything. Like, working and having the respect of your peers, the respect of your clients, knowing that you're like feeling light about the situation, that is everything.
Mikel Corrente, thank you so much. That was great.
Thank you, Armando.
Today's episode was edited by Maxton Hunter, theme music by Grassroots District, and produced by all the great people at Ari's Take.